So I'm up at the Ridgeway, just outside where I live. My wife's just dropped me off. I'm heading up to a little patch of woodland that we saw. It's not very big, but it's quite discreet. It's out of the way. I came for a walk with my wife this afternoon and it was quite a good spot. I had a good look around it. It's going to be quite cold tonight, -1 or -2. It could hit -2 up here. I mean, we're much more elevated than we are in the town, which is where I got the weather forecast from. So I think there's potential for it to be really cold. I got the military surplus sleeping bag, which if you saw the last video and I was showing the setup and everything, you'll see it in that. It's got the liner, which converts it from a 3-season to a 4-season. It's comfort rated down to 0, I think. It could even be -10, but to be honest, if it's only -2, it's not super important. I've also got a lot of layers with me that I'm going to be changing into when I get there, well, after setting up. And that will make all the difference. So I've also got the Trangia stoves, the ones that I made from the beer cans. If you saw my other videos, I'm going to be giving those a try tonight. I've already eaten, so I'm not going to be making anything elaborate. I've just rushed to the supermarket and bought a dry pasta dish that you mix in sauce and cook in a pot. So I'll be cooking that up. I've got a couple of step 2s. Thanks, Steve Wallace. I'll nick your phrase. If you haven't seen Steve's videos, you should go and check it out. He does some crazy camps. Really like stealthy, in places you wouldn't expect people to be camping. I'm not sure I'll be going quite to that level, but entertaining to watch. So I've got a little way more to go, and when I get there I'm going to be setting up in pitch black. It's really dark. The only light that I've got is the moon, obviously the red light. So apologies for the fact that the camera's not very good. It's not picking up any of the scenery at the moment. I can see quite a bit. There's loads of hills and tree lines around. So if I'm leaving at dusk, dawn, and it's light enough for you guys to see, I'll video my route out and you can catch a glimpse of it all. It's beautiful tonight though, it's so clear. There's the moon up there, not sure if you can see that. There's a lot of stars out, way more than you can see in the town. So that's really impressive. I've got a few layers on at the moment, not too many, because if you sweat and it's going to drop below 0, that could be bad. The sweat on the clothes will freeze and you could catch hypothermia. The only rule I have broken is that I've got some cotton jogging bottoms on, but I've got a different pair of trousers in the bag to change into, multi-layered ones. So I won't be wearing them for too long if they do get sweaty. But if they stay dry, I mean, it's cold enough that I shouldn't sweat. So if they stay dry, I'll just be keeping them on. But yeah, to be honest, I'm a bit surprised I'm not creeped out. It's so isolated up here and there's no one about, but it's yeah, just a bit creepy. But I feel fine. We're just about there, I think. It's just a little bit more to go. There's a woodland that it's not very big. Maybe you can just about see it through there. I think if I can brighten that on the video editor, you might see it. I'll try and take a still actually, and you'll be able to see what it looks like. There's quite a bit of light pollution coming from over that way. You can see the glow. And if you look that way, there's the glow on the horizon that's actually coming from the town, not the sun or the moon, the town. So yeah, I'm gonna duck in here a bit. I might pop back out into the field and see if I can get some night vision pictures if I put the camera into night mode. I've got the tripod, so it should be still enough that it'll capture some things. But yeah, let's see. I'm gonna say goodbye just so I can get in this wood and get set up. So as we watch the time lapse, it's probably worth going over the setup, the location, and why I picked these two trees. To the right of the camera is a big kind of growth of bush. It's unleafed because of the time of year, but it provided really good cover from the road, the Ridgeway just to the right of that. So even without the kind of foliage on the trees, if somebody was walking past, they're not going to see me. And given the kind of time in the morning that I'd be stretching it, getting out for daylight, packing away and getting away. So I didn't want to risk that like dog walkers would be walking past and see me packing away. But unfortunately, I picked these two trees thinking that they were spaced apart enough, and it just so happens that the gap wasn't big enough for me to fully stretch the tarp out. So I abandoned these and went for the diagonal option. Because this is a kind of artificial woodland that's been planted, all of the trees are in a grid formation, so they're very evenly spaced apart and of equal size. It was pretty easy to just swap and change it over for this diagonal. One of the things I regret in hindsight is using the torch. I needed it for the camera, no two ways about it. It was just way too dark with even the moonlight. There was a lot of moonlight last night, but it just didn't provide enough light for the camera to pick anything up. I tried recording a few scenes and they just came out completely blank. So using the torch just to give some light to the camera, I didn't need it myself. I could actually see what I was doing in just the moonlight alone. Given that there's no foliage on the trees, the light gets down to the ground level and you can actually see what you were doing. But yeah, I mean, resorting to the torch, it did work for the purposes of the camera, but it wasn't a good idea, as you'll see. So here's the new straps that if you saw my last video about changing the straps on the DD tarp, I put a paracord through the actual tarp and then bought the kind of ladder system with a carabiner. And they're so much easier to set up. Honestly, you just wrap it around the tree and then you can just adjust the carabiner up and down the strap just to get the tension and the height on the hammock. And I did it a few times here. It's just so much easier. There's going to be less slippage. It won't stretch as much. It's just going to be more reliable overall. And it kind of was that. Look, if I reflect back, I woke up, I wasn't on the floor or anything like I have been in the past where the straps have just slowly loosened or stretched. It was just a much better system. And packing it away was really easy as well. You just undo the carabiner after slipping the bag over the hammock and that's it. You just pack away the straps and it's all done. This is the quilt, under quilt for the hammock. Originally, I intended to use a foil blanket in between as well, but consequently, I ran out of time because of the torch. I'm guessing it's the torch, but as we'll see. Pretty frozen, so that did not go to plan at all. When I was setting up, I had to cut the video short because someone turned up in a car and they pulled alongside where I was just camping, turned around and then kind of reversed down the way this way that I'm heading now, and then stopped, and they were there for about 2 hours. I kid you not. I was standing still behind a tree because I weren't sure whether they saw the light that I was using until they got there, and I was just going to wait until they left. But the problem was that the more I stood still, the colder I was getting, and all of my gear was at the other side of the tarp that I was in the middle of setting up, so I couldn't really easily go and get more clothes and put those on while I was waiting. But eventually they went, and it gave me just enough time to get the sleeping bag out, and I got that lofting in the hammock and got the magic carpet set up underneath, put the stuff under there, and then they came back. But all the while that I was doing that, I didn't use the light at all, so there's no way they'd see me. I think they just perhaps suspected I was still there from before. So again, they stopped in the same place and they were there for another hour. And in the end, I just had to bite the bullet and get in the sleeping bag because I was getting really cold. And I just climbed in and just waited it out, and about 20 minutes later they left. But I was getting really cold. It just messed up my whole plan for like making a meal and trying out the alcohol stoves. I didn't get a chance to do any of that. I was going to do it this morning, but it got light really quick, so I thought it was probably best, given that they suspected that there was someone there. They might be back this morning in daylight to see. So I got cleared away really early. It was still dark when I was packing up, and yeah, I'm just heading out now, so we shall see. I'm not sure if I'll end up uploading this video, but I'll just record this bit of content just to kind of confirm that I made it through the night. And it was really comfortable as well, the sleeping bag. Like I said, I woke up this morning, it was -2, but it feels much colder than that. There's a little bit of a wind that there wasn't yesterday, yeah, it's really cold. I just showed you the ice on these huge puddles. There's at least 5 millimeters of ice on it, and it wasn't frozen yesterday when I got here, so that's how much the temperature dropped last night. But yeah, I was toasty, really warm, like didn't have any issues at all, apart from waking up at about 3 a.m. needing the loo and thinking I really don't want to get out of this sleeping bag. But yeah, so yeah, it didn't go to plan, but again, I'm trying to find good locations where not only can you get away with camping, but also just where it's discreet enough that nobody's really going to notice you, even if you're flashing a light around, because this time of year you haven't always got the moon out like I did last night to be able to see and get set up. But yeah, so hey ho, onwards and upwards. We'll find somewhere better next time. But if I do end up uploading this, thanks for watching, and maybe the next camp will be a big improvement.